Good morning or afternoon to you all, and welcome to this webinar. My name is Hazel McLucas, and I am an Education Partner Support Manager here at ACCA. Our session today is designed to support you with the Advanced Financial Management exam, where our expert tutor will share his insights to help you with your exam preparation. The webinar will cover exam tips and techniques using technical examples, and you'll be able to see how you can explore more on the exam or the specific topic on the Study Hub. You'll also hear from him on the latest examiner report, talking about the importance of mocks and how to utilise them during your exam practice. You'll have the opportunity to ask your questions live, and the expert tutor will provide answers to the most asked questions. And I'm very pleased to be joined by our expert tutor, Rashad Hussain.
Hello.
Before I hand over to Rashad, I'd like to just cover quickly a few housekeeping items. So you'll see at the bottom of your screen, there are a number of buttons that you can use. There's a help icon on the left, which provides resources and information to help you resolve any technical issues you might have. There are icons for the slides and the media player. You'll need to see both of these during the webinar, so make sure you've selected them now. And the attendee chat function, so you can talk to fellow webinar attendees, which is the icon on the right-hand side. And the resource list has an icon that looks like a file symbol. If you click on this, you'll be able to access resources relevant to today's webinars, including any direct links. You can also rearrange your screen to suit you and resize the windows if you need to. And if at any point you can't hear what we're saying or see any of the visuals, please refresh your browser. Registering for this webinar means you'll be sent an email tomorrow with detail on how you can listen to it again. So don't worry if you can't hear something or you have any technical issues, you'll be able to access it easily tomorrow. I'm going to hand over to Rashad in a moment, and I'll be back with you towards the end of the session. If you'd like to ask ACC or Rashad any questions, then please click on the Q&A icon, which is the middle icon at the bottom of your screen. Please note we can't guarantee responding to everyone directly, either verbally or in the web chat, but we hope that the questions we share are very helpful to everyone. And now I'd like to hand over to Rashad.
Great. Thank you very much, Hazel. Indeed, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. We have got attendees from across the globe. Welcome you all on board AFM Advanced Financial Management Examiners Report Unlocked InFocus webinar series. Let's start by introducing me. I am Rashad Hussain, your expert tutor for AFM. I've been, for more than a decade, I've been passionately training students like you to pass the financial management paper. When I'm not teaching, you'll find me as the CFO at Finscape Limited. I've been on a mission to guide, help students in conquering FM and the AFM exams. Through my journey as a tutor, I've had the privilege of teaching more than 100 financial management batches, numerous ACCA webinars, and train the trainer workshops. Now, what are we doing today? It's on our agenda, and let's kick off. Let's kick off with the examiner's report, unlocking the examiner's report. And then we're going to look a little bit into the common errors. And let's try to avoid those common errors. Let's also look into the preview of AFM exam tips and why the students fail. And before we wrap up with the Q&A sessions, let us also look into how to manage time during the exam. Well, during the Q&A, As Hazel said, we tend to get quite a lot of very similar questions. I'll try answering as many as possible. Just as we start, let's get an idea about where you stand as far as examiner's report is concerned. Well, to accomplish that, let's go through a poll. Let's have a look into the poll, which is now on your screen. So what is the poll on? Which of the following best describes examiner's report to you? I have no idea what the examiner's report is. Or the other option is, I know about the examiner's report, just that I have not been reading on it at all. I know the examiner's report and I've been reading on it occasionally. Finally, the last option, I know the examiner's report, I've been reading on it in depth prior to each exam. Where do you categorize yourself? Can I have your votes? I'm eagerly waiting for you to cast your vote. Yes. Great. Waiting for further more votes. Let's move on with a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's move ahead. A little more attendees to respond. Great. Now, my goodness, that's a lot of candidates who've not been reading it at all and not taking it seriously. More than half the candidates are not reading it and they aren't taking it seriously. It's a very serious issue. So let's start with the first item on the agenda. That's unlocking the examiner's report. What's the examiner's report? What is it about? Let's try to understand that. What is it? Yeah, could you tell me what the examiner's report is? What do you know about the examiner's report? You can use a chat option. Yeah. So what is it? Yeah, examiner's report is one of the most valuable ACCA resources. It's prepared by whom? It's prepared by the examining team. And what do we have there? We've got their observation from the marking process. It's prepared based on the most recent examination session. And whenever you read the examiner's report, it's supposed to be read along with the sample exam that is there on the ACCA exam platform, ACCA practice platform. Now, how is it going to help us? How is the examiner's report going to help us? It's going to help us avoid the common mistakes, the common pitfalls that is made by other candidates. Ever since I've seen examiner's report, it's always the same. Every year on year, it comes up with the same thing. We see students repeating the same mistake again and again and again. So reading the examiner's report will tell us what the other students have been doing, and it's going to help us ensure that we are not going to repeat those mistakes again. Now, what else? See, going through the examiner's report is going to help us learn exam technique. Not just the exam technique, it's going to help us identify the knowledge gap, where we need to prepare and where we need to, what we've missed out. Where do we need to prepare more? What is my misunderstanding? What have I missed out? Going through the examiner's report helps you identify all these. Some even pick up how the topics are examined. They are quite different from what you've seen at your study texts. And we've generally noticed that students who use examiner's report are more likely to pass exams. They perform better. So the most recent, we're going to unlock the most recent examiner's report, which is September, December 2023 examiner's report, 2023 examiner's report. And let's have a look at the first question on it. Well, the first question is a question on investment appraisal, McKeever. This question is for 50 marks, and there were multiple requirements. The requirement to find out the cash flow in pounds, find the NPV in dollars. Those were two different requirements. And you need to evaluate the impact of the marketing director's alternative exchange rate assumption. You need to discuss the assumptions that are made in the question. You need to state, discuss the political risk before making a final discussion, and discuss the validity of the CEO's suggestion to adjust the project's discount rate to incorporate the country risk. So we have got country risk, we've got political risk. Those are two different things. They are not the same. So the first question, what are the general observations here? So it was generally observed that the candidates, they tend to struggle when it comes to NPV with Forex, or otherwise NPV in international setting, where you need to convert the cash flows from one currency to another currency. Some candidates, they even missed the requirements out. Some candidates discussed areas other than that was asked for. This is one area, this is one topic where several candidates, they face time pressure, and time pressure is faced by those who lack preparations. So the general comments are candidates sometimes struggle with questions related to the NPV international setting. They missed the requirements, or they discussed areas other than what was asked for, and they had time pressure for those candidates who lacked preparation. Well, let's go into the specific requirement, the first requirement. And what is the first requirement? The first requirement is to estimate the project RAT's cash flow in pounds. Now here, we saw a lot of candidates, they wasted their time by inflating the sales and variable cost separately. They could have done something. What could they have done? They could have sales minus variable cost. They could have taken contribution and then inflated contribution one time instead of inflating the sales separately and the variable cost separately. So this was one major time waste that was done by the candidates. And in this particular question, a small part of the exhibit, let me take a small part from the exhibit. The exhibit went across like this. McKeever company will charge a selling price of pound 275 per unit in year one, incurring estimated variable cost of pound 100 per unit. The selling price and variable cost are expected to increase in line with the annual rate of inflation in Iraq. Now, what many candidates did is that the sales of the first year, they included inflation in the first year itself. They started including the inflation in the first year itself when it was very clearly told, when it was very clearly mentioned in the question that there will be year one, it is very clearly told. It's very clearly specified though, that specific guidance was there that the inflation is going to be from the second year and not from the first year. So this one was a big mistake that was done by many candidates. Now, in this particular question, where working capital, year on year, when the working capital increases, that is the incremental working capital, was not properly incorporated. They did not incorporate it properly. Forget incorporating it properly. There were many who even missed out at the end the recovery of it. So there was error in incremental working capital cash flows and the recovery at the end. And this knowledge of incremental working capital is not something new. It is brought forward knowledge from the FM F9 paper. Now, when it came to the second requirement, the NPV, where you were supposed to find the NPV in dollars, many did not know even how to distinguish between requirement 1 and requirement 2. They did not know where to stop, where they had to stop, where they had to find it out in pounds, and where they had to go into dollars. So the requirement split, at what point should it be converted to dollars? That split was not done properly by candidates. Now, again, applying the knowledge of calculating the forward exchange rate, the forecast exchange rate, based on the inflation, or otherwise what we call it as the PPPT. What is it? PPPT. What is PPPT? Yeah, tell me what is PPPT through the chat box. What is PPPT? Yeah, based on the purchase power parity theory, when you calculated, there was errors in calculating. Inflation was wrongly taken. Numerator taken as denominator, denominator taken as numerator. What is the easiest way to ensure that you don't go wrong? Huh? Suppose it is given $2 per pound, and it is given that the dollar interest rate is inflation is 10% and pound inflation is 20%. How do you apply it? How do you find the forward rate for year 1? How do you find the forecast rate? The rate is equal to 2 into the dollar inflation on the numerator, and that will be 1 plus 0.10, and the pound on the denominator 1 plus 0.20. So that's how you ensure the first currency on the numerator, the second one on the denominator will ensure that you don't go wrong. So here it will be 2 into 1.1 divided by 1.2, giving you what? Giving you $1.8333 per pound. So take extreme care about where to allocate, where to put up, place the inflations correctly. Now the other error that was noticed was that many did not even see when two countries have got two different taxes. If your home country has got more tax, you will have to charge that additional tax. There was error in including or applying the additional taxes in the taxable profit. Speaking about the third requirement, evaluate the impact of marketing director's alternative exchange rate assumption on the project's NPV, recommending whether or not the project should be accepted. So here, the alternative exchange rates, after using the alternative exchange rates, many missed the additional taxes, missed to calculate additional taxes. They use the alternative exchange rate, but they did not do the additional taxes after that. Now, a huge majority, or maybe a significant minority, they wasted time in recalculating an alternative NPV, even though that figure was given in the question. Even though that figure was given in the question, it was very clearly specified that the alternative NPV is so and so. They recalculated. That's not going to fetch any additional marks. This question was very badly attempted. Candidates just in this NPV question, they just stated, NPV is positive, accept the project. That is not going to fetch you any professional marks. That's not going to take you any further. Simple conclusion is not sufficient. You need to take it little further ahead. So what was the things that we have noticed? Candidate just simply concluded that the NPV is positive and should be accepted, or maybe negative should be rejected. There was very little recognition that the two exchange rates that was specified by two directors. One we had the finance director, the other one we had the marketing director. Both of them were in two different directions. They were opposite to each other. The finance director said strengthening of Iranian pound, whereas the marketing director said weakening of Iranian pound. Simple recognition of the simple identifying this and mentioning this up would have been an easily mark that would have fetched. Many did not fetch that easy marks. Now, speaking about the next requirements, well, in the next requirements, where the commenting part, many just restated the assumptions. They did not include any relevant discussion at all. Political risk, what was asked, that was not enough or sufficient for the marks allowed. It was very, very, very brief. And one of the most important things here was, understanding what situation we are in, what background, what environment we are. This scenario, this McKeever is in an emerging economy. What is our environment? Our environment is an emerging economy. That was not identified. Many did not identify it from the scenario, and not identifying and mentioning it was easy mark that was missed out. Now, when it was asked about the last requirement, which was on the country risk, many wrongly discussed about everything apart from country risk. They discussed about political risk, business risk, geared beta, ungeared beta. Lack of knowledge and understanding was something that was very evident. So please ensure to have very solid knowledge and very solid understanding. The second question was this question called SouthMed. Now, the SouthMed company was again an easy to score topic, which was on financial performance and business situation. Financial performance and business situation. Many candidates were very happy when they saw this question. And its requirements were to, yes, evaluate SouthMed's financial performance and business situation. You should include in your discussion any omissions in data where further information would be helpful to extend your analysis, provide relevant calculations for ratios and trend to support your evaluation. Note 10 marks are available for calculation. This is something really important. See, when 10 marks are for calculation, the rest is to, yes, discuss, bring your analysis, further information. You write content or calculations for more than 10 marks. There are students who kept on doing too many calculations, too many ratios, too many trends. A very unbalanced answer, That unbalanced answer is not going to fetch you any additional marks. So it was observed that candidates wasted a lot of time doing too many ratios, too many trends. They wrote very unbalanced answer. And when performance comes up, what is important? You need to understand there are 5 key areas that you need to, where you need to look into. What are those 5 key areas? What are the 5 areas of calculations that you need to include when it comes to performance measurement? Yeah, tell me. Can you tell me what are the 5? Yeah, through the chat box. Can you tell me what are the 5 key areas that you need to include when it comes to financial performance or maybe the ratios calculation? What are the areas? I'll give you a clue. Profitability. Yeah, tell me the rest. Profitability. Yeah, you would have learned 4. Yes, in the scenario, we've got 5 areas. Yes. Profitability. Wonderful. What's the next one? We've got you have to do capital structure ratios. You have got to do on liquidity. You've got investor ratios. And finally, this question had certain segments where you could do segmental analysis as well. So what are those 5 key areas? One, profitability. You could, there was error in ROC calculation. There was error in asset turnover. The capital structure was wrongly gearing. industry, wrong gearing, not as per the industry average. The same way how the industry average is calculated, you have to take the same method. That was not done by the candidates. Liquidity was generally done well because that's damn easy, is it? Now the investor ratios, total shareholders return was not attempted at all. Segment and analysis. The trend part was quite well done. Those who did it did the trend well. Some did not even attempt it at all. Now some candidates were very smart. You know what they did? This was a question. Where here? This is a question. This question very smartly they copied and pasted it. Yeah, it's permitted. You can do it. You can save a lot of time. So some smart candidates, they copied the exhibit to the spreadsheet. So some smartly copied it. Now, when you copy and paste, you need to understand one thing. Sometimes the cell referencing, they go wrong. The ratios that is already calculated gets correct. So you need to take care to correct that. Some, after copying and pasting it, they did not correct the cell referencing and there was error due to the changes in the spreadsheet, and whatever ratios that was calculated, they were either wrong or they became correct. Now speaking further of this question 2, Southward, as far as discussions was concerned, apart from discussion, the candidates did not include any proper conclusion. There were no conclusion, there were no recommendations, they were missed out. And whenever you calculate, give proper heading. You can give heading, profitability heading, and then put it across capital structure, then put it across liquidity, put it across investor ratios. After it, you could have put proper heading and subheadings. They were not used. There was very bad structuring. Now, whenever you compare, there was no comparison with the industry average. It was not mentioned whether trend is, these are easy marks that you could have fetched. There's an upward trend, there's a downward trend. That was not mentioned at all. And whenever the discussion came, the sentence was so complicated, so muddled, too many points together, too many issues at once. This is only going to limit your mark. It's not going to fetch your marks. Did not suggest, and where the professional mark was hidden, did not suggest of any additional information that could have been provided in the question. This is where you could have easily scored 1 or 2 marks, suggesting additional information. Now, speaking about the next question, Alberta 4. Here, this question was on advanced risk management, where it was, yes, a slightly technically demanding requirement. It was on interest rate futures and options hedging. It required you to discuss about the comments of 3 directors. General good number analysis was done by the candidates, but we saw when it came to the skepticism and commercial acumen, it was unsatisfactory. Many candidates even wasted time recalculating figures of forward rate agreement that was already given in the question. Recalculating. You're auditing the question itself. So what was the thing what were the most frequently done mistakes here? A lot of students wasted time doing wrong workings and not going to score any, doing more and more workings which is not relevant to the score. You're not going to fetch. There was incorrect when it came to this topic while calculating the number of contracts. There was incorrect calculation as far as number of contracts was concerned. When you calculate the closing futures, the unexpired period basis, there was an incorrect calculation. Many candidates just simply stated, okay, the interest rate futures is better than options or options is better than futures. They did not take it with further discussion. So many candidates just simply stated, which is financially beneficial. They did not take it with further discussion. Now, response to the directors, the queries to the directors, the three directors had three queries. It was too brief, there was no detail, there was no analysis, and it was put across in a very generic way. There was no link to the context, there was no link to the environment as such, there was no link to the scenario. Hmm? Now, let's try to understand one small thing. Let's try to understand how your preparation is. How do you practice the questions? Do you do it really in time limit according to the marks? Is it done that way around? If yes, tell me yes, or otherwise give me a no. No, it's there on the poll. The poll is now on your screen. Hmm? Do you practice it based on time limit? This is one reason why we see a lot of candidates not clearing the exam. They keep on elaborating more and more and more and more than what is actually required. Yes, it's a very easy question. I'm eagerly waiting for all your votes. Hmm? Okay. So what do we see? Uh, Majority of the students, no, they don't. This is one reason why many find it difficult to score. Many find it difficult to score. Hmm? Now, how to avoid these common mistakes? How to avoid these common mistakes? How do we do? What should we take care? Let's clear. See, we still have sufficient time to clear this time. We still have sufficient time. What are the things that we need to take care? What are the common mistakes that you need? Yeah, maybe you take your pen, paper, note it down. The most common mistake, and ensure them that you don't repeat this mistake. Ensure that you don't repeat this mistake. What are those common mistakes? First is that there are many candidates who just list the assumptions and without any discussion. So please, anything you pick up from the question, come on, bring it with further discussion. Elaborate it. Take it ahead. So this is one thing that I want to highlight out. And whenever you're asked to calculate the differences, be very careful what the requirement are. Several times the requirement is not just in an amount, not just an absolute figure. They do ask it relatively. What is the percentage difference? What is the percentage change? So calculate some absolute figures. The candidates, they calculate absolute figure for the change in the value rather than that was asked in the question was relative in percentages. So be very careful whether the requirement is asked in a percentage or an absolute figure. Now, when it comes to incremental working capital, you need to take care that the cash flows, the incremental cash flows is taken properly. Okay, if let's say the working capital required 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or the working capital requirement is 50, then maybe 60, 70, or let's 80 and maybe 70. If this is the working capital requirement, how do you incorporate the incremental working capital? The incremental working capital is going to be if I infuse 50 lakhs or maybe 50. Second time, I don't have to infuse 60. I've already introduced 10. I only have to introduce the balance. I've already introduced 50. I only have to introduce that excess 10. Then for the third year, I only have to introduce the excess 20. And the final year, understand, working capital requirement is reduced. So I'm going to get back the difference between this, I'm going to get back my 10. I'm going to get back my 10. Now these working capitals are always supposed, the working capital cash flows are always supposed to be placed 1 year in advance. 50 is required at the beginning. Year 1 working capital is required at the beginning of year 1, which is 0. This is required at the beginning of 2, which is 1, and here beginning of 3, and I'll get 40. And finally, the most important thing that always the candidates miss out, in the final year, the entire working capital shall be recovered plus 70. This is the cash flows that is supposed to be included in the working capital calculations. Huh? So this was something that was noted, where incremental aspect of working capital cash flows, recovery of working capital was done error. Now, when it came to royalty, you're going to receive, royalty goes from in one currency and it comes to the other country in another currency. The conversion was wrong, the placement of it was wrong in many cases. Whenever the royalty comes, candidates do error here. Now, as far as risk are concerned, they restate the risk. They don't do any discussions or further analysis is never done. Incorrectly calculating, especially when it comes to valuation, where you have probably year 1, 2, 3, and maybe 4 onwards infinity, 4 onwards infinity. When you get the discount factors, get the discount factors, always remember this discount factor here, the perpetuity 1 by R will have to be, after this 1 by R, it will have to be multiplied by the previous year discount factor. That is, when it comes to the perpetual terminal value, there is always error in calculating that. So go fix that base of perpetuity. Now, whenever you find the present value in valuation, when you find present value, and that present value is the value of the firm, if you want to find the value of the equity, you will have to less the value of debt. You will have to less the value of debt to arrive at the value of equity. So several times it is noticed that the value of the firm is stated as value of equity without reducing the value of debt from it. So the candidates failed to reduce the value of debt to arrive at value of equity. And whenever the carry forward of loss came in exam, wrong adjustment was done. They did not adjust that loss in the subsequent year. That loss tax calculation on carry forward of loss adjustment, that loss has to be adjusted against the next year profit. And then that year where there was loss, no tax. And the year where there was profit, this loss is adjusted towards that profit and then calculate the tax. So that was a very big mistake that was done by a lot of candidates. Now, students, there are so many questions in the chat telling, sir, give us some tips. How do we clear? See, to give you the tips, you need to understand why you fail. What is the reason you fail AFM exam? Why do we fail? We'll have to understand that. Let me bring 3 reasons why you fail, three highlights. And you have to ensure that you are not in that category. What are those 3 highlights? 3 things. What is easy for you? You need to finish off that easy thing. And not to spend too much time on the difficult. You're spending too much time on the difficult that even your easy marks, you're not fetching it, you're resulting in poor time management, and what happens? You don't complete the question paper on time. The next thing is not answering to what is asked. You have very poor writing skill. The narrative part is bad. It doesn't reach to the point. You're only doing the computation, the numbers, the discussion is not taken further ahead. And finally, the most worst thing is where there is no proper format, there is no proper template, there is no proper structuring. Structuring such as, put your things into appendixes. Use proper headings, subheadings. These are things that can very easily fetch you marks. Put the working notes very detailed, drafted neat and detailed. So yeah, if you ask me exam tips, yes, come on, put detailed working note. Structure your answer into appendixes, put headings, subheadings, paragraphs, use. Easy to fetch few marks. Now, when it comes to, the professional judgment, the professional marks, some students have a feeling, it is very challenging to score that. No, it is not challenging to score. It's easy to score. How do you score that? It's easy to score. Make proper recommendation or advice. Take something from the question and tell them, pick relevant thing from the question and tell that information. You challenge it. You doubt whether it is right. And you can probably say that, this works or does not work in real life scenario. Come on, challenge it. Now, there are students, whenever you state something, what is the trick, to make your discussion further? Always, whatever you state, Let it go with a linking word such as maybe because. Yeah, what are those magical words? The magical words I call it because. Use because after you state something, or use also after you state something, or use however. These are magical linking words. Use these magical linking words. These magical linking words will help you wonderfully fetch things. Hmm? So use these magical words because also, however, and when in exam, don't try to make a very perfect answer. The ideal 100% answer is not possible. There are students who write something and they feel it is not really good. They go back, they cut it, they again write, they start from the beginning. No, don't try for a perfect answer. Go for a good enough answer. Ensure to attempt everything. If you've gone wrong somewhere, okay, first finish, let's come back and later correct it. Don't worry, the examiner is going to follow the own figure rule. The marks are not for the, what is it, not for the final answer. It is for each step. You go wrong in one point, the rest of the steps are recalculated based on your figure. That is the own figure rule. We are not looking for a perfect answer, but good enough answer. Hmm? Now, there are students who come and ask me, sir, how do I manage time? How do I manage time? How can I score more in less time? How can it be done? How is it done? Yeah, I'm going to give you a quick hack about, how to look on the watch and how to ensure that, yes, you stick on to the time. See, this is called the easy mark strategy, where something that is easy, you finish. You read something, you feel it is tough. You read it once more, you feel it tough. You do not read it the third time, because reading it the third time will make you more and more worried, more and more tensed. That is not how do you make yourself calm. Whatever you feel easy, let us do that first. Let us get that organized. So this easy mark strategy, the question A, the 50 mark question, yeah, it's not for 1.5 hours. It's only for 60 minutes. All the easy ones finish it. Tough one, we'll come back to it. What we don't understand, we'll come back to it. It's after all the spreadsheet and the word processing, where you can always cut, copy, paste, and rearrange. So first 60 minutes, finish the easy one. Then go to B, next 30 minutes, not 45 minutes, finish off the easy one. Next question number 3 in the B, another 30 minutes. Now, out of the 2 hour, you have, out of the 3 hours, you have finished with 2, you have 1 hour balance, you have got 60-minute balance. This 60-minute, by this time, you would have got that confidence. Yes, I've attempted a lot of things. I've substantially touched almost everywhere. Your confidence builds up, and when you are calm, when you are happy, even the difficult now becomes easy for you. Go back, now do the difficult questions. 45 minutes, do the difficult questions. Yeah, I need the 15 minutes. What is that rest of 15 minutes? That balance, the 15 minutes is meant for you to check your answers. It's meant for you to go recheck your answers. You need to spend time rechecking all the answers, because there might be certain linking that you would have done wrong, your references that you would have done wrong. Yes. Now, always it comes up in the, yes, it comes up by the students. Sir, how do we keep ourselves calm? The best method to keep yourself calm is to, yes, do the easy thing. When you do easy thing, that feeling of accomplishment, that feeling that I've done substantially good, that'll help you score better. That'll help you score better. Now, I want you to tell me, yes, do you really know when the pre-March mock release date is? When is the mock release date? Could you respond through the chat box? Yes. Can I have you to participate? Yes. Hurry up. Can I get response from all of you? Yes, the pre-March 2024 mock release date is 12th Feb. It'll be released on 12th of Feb. And once the pre-March mock is released, later we also do have a debrief video. And do you know when the debrief video comes up? When is the debrief video? The pre-March 2024 mock debrief that is released, where these questions you can do the mock and later get back to the debrief, try solving the debrief, yes, or try looking into the debrief to understand where you have done it right and to what extent you have done it right, yes. When is that video released? Yeah, the debrief is released on, great, wonderful. It's released on 16th of Feb. It's released on 16th of Feb. It's released on 16th of Feb. So many candidates are aware about when it is released. Now, let's move on to the live Q&A. And here, let me pick questions from the Q&A. You can keep sending your questions, and as many as questions possible, I'll keep answering to them. Yeah, if one question goes like this: if there's only one advice you would give for an AFM student, what would that advice be? Advice would be to practice, practice, practice. Huh? One advice. You need to do as many as the next question goes like this: is studying from a single text sufficient to cover the entire syllabus? You need to go through across all the resources that is available. You need to ensure that you do the practice questions that are there, the mock questions you need to attempt. You need to go through the study hub. You need to go through the past exam questions, do a mock. Just going through the syllabus will not be sufficient for you to clear the exams. No. Another question goes like this: for an NPV, for an APV calculation, that is adjusted present value question, if I've got the wrong calculation, do I lose mark for interpreting the wrong APV? No, no. You lose only mark for that wrong calculation. Then whatever your interpretation is, if it is based on that wrong answer, based on the wrong answer, if that interpretation is right, that interpretation is given marks. That interpretation is given marks. What is the best way to answer questions on the spreadsheet? Is it vertically or horizontally? I will recommend, see, there is no hard and fast rule that vertical is good or horizontal is good, but I'll recommend vertical. I'll recommend you to go from top to bottom, because you might not have too much space towards the right, and when you put too many things towards the right, seeing multiple, seeing the exhibit, seeing the requirement, everything together would become slightly challenging. Yeah, there's the same question. The question goes like this: Sir, if we miscalculate one value but carry that to the rest of the question, would we still be marked accordingly, even if the final answer is incorrect? Yeah, you will still be losing mark only for that one wrong calculation. Rest all your computation and working shall be recomputed based on your figure rule, and you'll be awarded marks for the rest. So you don't lose marks for the entire thing. And this rule is called the own figure rule. This rule is called the own figure rule. This rule is called the own figure rule. Yes. Now, sir, how do we score professional marks Yeah, that is something that is quite frequently asked. How do we score professional marks? See, the professional mark has got four major areas. What are the four major areas? If you take care of those four major areas, scoring professional marks is very easy. What are those four areas of professional marks? Everybody knows that four areas, but what to put in those four areas is what you don't know. At least tell me through the chat box. What are those four areas? What are the four areas that you need to take care for professional marks? What are the four areas? Yes, wonderful, wonderful. The four areas are communication, analysis and evaluation, skepticism, commercial acumen. Now, how do we gain mark in communication? How do you gain, how do you put things to evaluation and analysis? How do you put things in skepticism? How do you put across in commercial acumen? That's a question. And I have a very, a magical checklist that can ensure you can score in all these areas. And what's that checklist? Let me help you with that checklist. Huh? You can take your pen, paper, note this down. Any question, once you complete any question, what are you going to do? Your communication, check all these things. What are you supposed to check in communication? Have I put headings? Have I put subheadings? Have I given a very brief introduction? Have I explained what is going to follow after the introduction? Have I used appropriate language? Is it clear and concise? Have I structured it? Have I put it in working note and appendix? So this is the way how you will be able to score when it comes to communication, professional marks in communication. How do you score? So this should be like a checklist. Once you finish the answer, you go check headings. If I put no, then create the headings. Subheadings, yeah, ensure subheadings are put. Have I put appendix? No, then go put appendix. You should use it like a checklist. The next one, analysis and evaluation. What do you do here? You ensure that you've picked the appropriate data. You ensure that you've always taken things further in analysis. And if there is somewhere, there is some information missing in the question, you feel that if that was mentioned in the question, you could have, done something more. You can mention the lack of data. And finally, never conclude, yeah, NPV positive, accept. No, that is not how we want. NPV positive, accept. However, assess risk. Sensitivity analysis is recommended. Take things further. Give a very justified conclusion. Don't go for a biased conclusion. Skepticism, very important. Question the facts given in the question, yeah. Question, challenge the information there. State that the assumption that is provided there is not realistic. You don't feel it to be. You feel there is some problem with the assumption there. And conclude professional judgment, draw a good conclusion. And the last thing is commercial acumen. This is a point where students, they lack very badly. It doesn't reach the point. You need to write what works and what does not work in real life. You can probably say this thing mentioned in the case will not work in real life. It might work in this scenario, but maybe not in real life. You can bring commercial, practical commercial consideration into the scenario. You can write about it. You can write about certain internal environment of the business and maybe external environment of the business. And what we have done now, what could be the possible consequence in the future or maybe in the past? This checklist, any question you do, come back, check whether anything of this you can, add more. This is your secret weapon. This is your magical tool to ensure score, what is it? Professional marks. Okay. Now, let's look on to the next question. Yes. Is it okay to copy and paste the question requirement in our answer template? Is it wrong? Will it affect our marks? No, it will not affect your marks. You can copy paste the requirement from there and you can start writing after the requirement. In fact, that will look more organized. Copy the requirement and start typing your answer behind it. You can probably put that requirement in bold for it to look better. What is the decent approach for attending question to save maximum time? See, the decent approach is whatever you know, you speed up with that. be more aggressive in answering what you know. That is, do the easy mark strategy. Whatever you feel is easy, finish it off. Come back. When you come back, what happens is that you become more calm, you become more focused, you tend to give more justified and more professional conclusion. Uh, in the remaining time, the next question goes like this: in the remaining time, what would you suggest us to do? Is it enough if we only go through the past year questions, and also how important is it to include technical articles for AFM? Now, see, it's really going to depend on what level have you prepared so far. If you are okay with all the concepts, if you already know the entire content, yes, you can start off with your past year questions. But if you've just started preparing, no doubt you need to have a very good fundamental understanding, conceptual understanding, and that would require you to, yes, start with the study text, ensure that you know all the content, and then move on to the past year questions. Now, going through the study hub, yeah, it's not really necessary to. Yes, technical articles are sometimes a little bit lengthy, or sometimes based on more of a real life and a huge background. Such huge backgrounds are sometimes not required. So if you are in short of time, I will recommend you to spend more time on the study hub. Uh, Okay. Next question is, sir, on section B questions, should you answer in word processing or Excel when discussing calculations are always recommended to be done in the word process, to be done in the spreadsheet. And if you have certain things, if it is an elaboration of maybe a discussion of 2 or 3 lines, you can do it in the spreadsheet itself. If it is a report or something where you have got a lot to write, you can put it across in the word processor. In questions like evaluation, estimate, or calculate how much theory should be written, how much theory should be written will be based on the marks that is there. You need to look at the mark, how much mark is allocated for it. It is depending on that, you will decide, how much you have to write for it. Yes, is 4 weeks sufficient to cover the syllabus? Yes, it is more than enough to cover. When if you sit dedicated, if you spend sufficient time, 4 weeks is more than enough to manage this. How to prepare for the theory questions. There is no mugging up, or there's no by hearting. Go through all those. There are a lot of frequently asked theory questions which you can see from the past exam, and going through the study text, reading the study text one round, and going through the study hub would give you a very good outline about how the questions would come about, and how, what are the important theories, all the theories we have it there. Okay, I believe sufficient questions, all those questions. How many mocks are enough for AFM? Do you suggest any specified list of selected mocks? See, we have sufficient past exam questions, sample questions in the ACCA practice platform. You can get to those practice platform. Doing as many as possible is good. Yes, Hazel, I believe we've answered to as many number of questions possible.
That's great, thank you. Yes, and we do need to bring things to a close now, and I hope that everyone has found today's webinar very useful. Don't forget that everyone who's registered for today's webinar will get an email with how they can listen to it again. And I'd like to thank Rashad and the team who've supported us in delivering today's successful session, and also for all your participation and your great questions. We wish you all the best for your exams. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Wishing you all the best for your upcoming exam.